Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Stronger Than Steel podcast. My name is John Keir, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Austin Davidson.
Yo.
It is Season 5, Episode 34, and the Pittsburgh Steelers' perfect season, the run for the attempt at a perfect season, is over. The Steelers fall to the Washington football team by a score of 23-17 at Heinz Field on Monday afternoon. The Steelers had several opportunities to win this game, just Steelers beating Steelers, though, and a few unfortunate injuries and untimely plays, more drops. The Steelers' poor play over the course of several weeks over the past couple months has finally caught up with them, and they lost, and it was a disappointing loss, but one that I don't think was all that unexpected given the way things have been trending.
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed in the loss, but I mean, wasn't really expected. It kind of felt like going into this game that the football team was going to obviously not go down without a fight, but also that it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. This is one of the best defenses that we're going to be seeing in quite some time. And Steelers their own mistakes. Really, realistically, if Steelers just made it past their own mistake, so they could have made it out of this game with a W. It still would have been a close one, but just too much with the injuries and then also some nonsense happening at the end of the half. You know, it became too much.
Why don't we start with, I guess, kind of the good that came out of this game. And I guess one of the first thing I'll start with is when it comes to this game, even though it's a loss, this is a game that you can afford to lose because it's a non-conference game and the Steelers are still in first place in the AFC because it was a non-conference defeat. And that first seed is ever so important right now.
Yeah, with being the only team that gets a bye, it's important. But now, the Steelers, you're always hoping to win, but they really have to win out now because the Chiefs likely aren't to lose another game this season.
Yeah, their wiggle room is their margin for error is gone after losing this. Is essentially what we're getting at. I guess the negatives. Why don't we start with injuries? Joe Hayden with a concussion, Robert Spillane with the knee. Robert Spillane now on injured reserve. Those two guys, two more starters, lost for a defense that was already missing 3 when it came into the game. So now you're down 5 players. Definitely a tough slope for that defense as they give up 13 points in their final 3 possessions.
Yeah, it was tough. They just really couldn't overcome that. I mean, it sucks when you lose a guy that uses the green dot. Like, that's a big loss. It's not just losing the position, it's now losing source of communication. And because of that, the defense did look a little bit confused at times afterward. It's tough. I mean, Aveson had to be put into that role right afterward. Because for some reason throughout his tenure, Vince Williams has not been trusted with the green dot for whatever reason that may be. And we'll get to this next episode, but that actually works next week. Regardless, back to this thing, it just didn't work out. Losing Spillane was big, tough loss. I mean, he was playing pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, PFF actually graded him highly in his time playing, like very highly, like one of the top 3 players.
You mean this season or in that game?
Game, specific. I think I saw that. I might be wrong.
Let me get back to you on that one.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, he got a sack before he left with an MCL injury. It's tough. I thought that the injury... after the game, I thought that the injury wasn't going to be that long. He saw an IR immediately, but now he's gone for at least 3 weeks, which means the injury is kind of tough. Means he probably has a grade 2 MCL sprain. I was reading up on MCL sprains a lot, for this injury specifically a lot because it varies. Usually if you're out for 3 weeks, it's typically going to be a grade 2. 6 to 8 is grade 3. Grade 1 varies. You might not miss time at all with grade 1 or this likely is a grade 2, and he should be back these 3 weeks with this injury now that he's kind of even had some time to sit on it now, just being placed on IR now. But regardless, back into the game, many starters and you don't have your kicker, and it's a recipe for Sir, it wasn't. I sincerely think that if the Steelers just didn't lose Spillane and Hayden, they still win this game. I know the offense was inept and the reason they lost, but I don't think Washington scores any more points if Hayden and Spillane are still in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and you could see really there's three ways the Washington football team moved on the ground or moved on the day. They were through Logan Thomas, Cam Sims, and J.D. McKissick. Antonio Gibson went out early, and the running game for them was not overly effective. They basically relied on Logan Thomas, Cam Sims to move the ball mostly, and then J.D. McKissick had a couple drives where he was basically utilized as a jailbreak option to a check down guy, and the Steelers were unable to get a linebacker and Avery Williamson on him. So, not a great result.
I also think that even if the McKissick line still happens, that's the one thing I still think happens, because McKissick would have been countered with Devin Bush. There was no answer for McKissick on our roster, even with Spillane, in my opinion. I thought that was headless. Unless we had Devin Bush, which obviously that's been a long time over. But it's kind of crazy. Can you imagine just coming into this game saying that Antonio Gibson had 2 rushes for 14 yards the entire game, and Terry Moon 2 catches for 14 yards, and you lost?
Yeah, you'd be asking where to sign up for that.
Yeah, it's like absolutely insane.
Well,
I
go ahead.
Washington asked other people to step up, and they did. That's exactly what happened. Other people stepped up.
I think if you were Pittsburgh, you probably could have tried to do some sort of different type of personnel move to try to not have Williamson lined up on a guy like McKissick. Now, it happened a few times, sure, but there's got to be a point where you got to change something. They were just taking what the Steelers were giving them over and over again. But I mean, at the end of the day,
that's tough because you can't put a linebacker on him. None of our linebackers are fit for that.
No, but
you have to take Terrell Edmonds and put him in and a running back, which I mean it is. I only know this because I'm not very good with play calls, but I know in Madden it's possible. So that's how I know it's doable.
So I guess at the end of the day, you look at the defense and say they didn't do enough. They gave up. 23 points, but. Should be worth pointing out that they were basically handed 6 points, really. Obviously, there was that debacle at the end of the first half where the officials basically screwed up and gave the Washington football team a free play to kick a field goal. And then later on, after the field goal that put Washington in front 20-17, the Steelers were immediately intercepted, and Washington went backwards but was already in field goal range. So did those 2 field goals kind of change your opinion on how this game turned out? Because it would have been only 17 points again. Or are you still, are you still looking at this defensive performance and saying they weren't nearly good enough?
I thought the defense did good enough. I mean, they held the team to 20 points. I mean, maybe you could complain because Gibson was out, but they mostly did what they had to do. I mostly blame the offense for this. I mean, do you wish that this held them to 0 points? Yeah, I always wish for that. I wish for every team shut out every single game, but it's just not realistic. And if the offense can't put up more than 20 points, it's just like, what are you going to do? And also, I always say it, you have to beat the refs. It doesn't matter what the refs are doing. You have to outplay everything. It doesn't matter. And if you can't outplay the refs, you're not doing good enough. It doesn't matter what they do, how many points they swung it for. And in this game, it was 3 points, but you got to outplay that. You got to be able to beat everything in front of you. Otherwise, you're not a good team.
And on top of that, if you want to talk about maybe more nitpicky stuff, TJ Watt had a fumble, which he should have recovered, but tried to pick up instead of falling on. And he also was called for a holding penalty. But again, on the day, I thought, for the most part, this defense I thought they played well enough for them to win.
Yeah, Watt was good, and it's just unfortunate he was involved in 2 of the biggest plays. That the holding call, I don't know if you remember, was going to be a 4th down run and stop, but it gave the Washington a new set of downs at the 1 yard line.
Yes, which they were able to capitalize on then. I mean,
get a touchdown.
The one thing I will say is that you probably could have played a little more aggressive coverage on Alex Smith later in the game. He's a check down type of guy, and they've repeatedly gave him check downs. So, I don't know. I think you could find flaws with them. Obviously, the communication breakdowns were an issue. Logan Thomas, there was a busted coverage there, but when you're dealing with a team with this many injuries on defense, you're going to have guys in unfamiliar spots, and it came back to bite them.
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely did. It's just, what can you really do? It happens, and you just got to move on.
On the other side, the Steelers' offense, there's a ton of different issues. Which one do you want to talk about first?
The draw. This is ridiculous now. This isn't funny anymore. Basically, the Steelers they all need to hit the jugs machine. I really thought that, okay, that one game was an anomaly, and they're gonna bounce back strong. And I included in my bold prediction. I thought that how pissed off Mike Tomlin was. Everything was going to go well in practice, and that this wasn't going to be a problem this week. But it became just the same amount of problem this week, and this time it cost them the game. The defense just wasn't good enough in this game to keep them under 17 points, and I don't blame them for that. The offense just was miserable because of that, and there's just so much that goes into it. The drops, the unsuccessful runs, not being able to run on a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1. It's absolutely insane. The offense is underperforming, and they need to get it together fast. And namely, if the Steelers have to throw 50 times a game, your wide receivers need to be able to catch. Your wide receivers and tight ends, I should say, be able to catch the ball. The run not working sucks, but I can live without it. This is a passing league. The running game isn't as important. We want them to be able to at least 3rd and short, but this offense apparently can't. What you need to be able to do is, if you can't run, if you're throwing 50 times a game, you have to be able to catch them. That's it. It's the bottom line, and it's not happening. If you take away the drops, and Roethlisberger's completion percentage is disgusting. He diced them up. He diced up Washington really bad, and they have a really good defense. And the offensive line didn't allow any sacks this game. Granted, they weren't perfect either, but they allowed no sacks in the passing game on another 53 attempts. So that's good enough for me. It's just the wide receivers and tight ends need to catch. It's bad.
By the way, Robert Spillane was the Steelers' highest-rated defensive player in that game.
I thought I saw that. I just wasn't sure. I remembered him having like a 90-plus grade before he went out.
As far as PFF grades, Ben Roethlisberger finished with the best grade on the team. I thought he played relatively well, only a couple of bad throws. I know that the pass tipped at the line of scrimmage is an issue, but this was really the first time besides the Baltimore game I felt that the opposing defense knew what the Steelers were going to do, and they played an effective defense to boot.
Yeah. And what's crazy is they were still being diced up. They just couldn't run still.
The Washington football team Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Washington came out and said that they knew what the Steelers wanted to do after the game. They said that they know the play calls.
Yeah, because I think one of the main issues with this team is they can only really move the ball one way. And the way that they've been struggling to move the ball in other ways, when you're predictable like this and one-dimensional, and you can only, there are several aspects to being able to move the ball. You need to be able to convert on 3rd and 4th and short, run successfully there. You need to be able to throw it short efficiently. When you throw it deep, you want to be able to get some sort of results there. You don't want to turn the ball over. There's a lot that goes into it, but the Steelers right now, they're only winning one way. They're only efficient in one aspect, and that's the short passing game. I think the Steelers have got to start pushing the ball downfield a little more, and just the way they played in this game, so many issues on offense with the players, and then I know that it's easy to put a target on the back of Randy Fichtner, the Steelers' offensive coordinator, but there were some questionable decisions in this game, including a play where they had a pass designed for extra offensive tackle Gerald Hawkins, who had just been activated off the COVID list, and I can pretty much guarantee you had not practiced that play yet. And on top of that, the critical 4th and 1 play to end the game, the Steelers needed the first down, and they went spread and threw a sluggo route to Anthony McFarland, which in itself, a sluggo route on a 4th down, I don't got a problem with that. My issue with that is that the Steelers used a rookie running back after Mike Tomlin's decision to not kick a potential game-tying field goal from 45 yards out, was that they didn't want to put kicker Matthew Wright in that type of situation, which is completely hypocritical if they're willing to do that to Anthony McFarland. If you're not going to give the guy a chance, then he shouldn't be there.
You can't live in your fears. This is an NFL kicker. You signed him. NFL kickers make business. NFL kickers are supposed to kick the ball. You got to use him. I don't understand that. It's not like he missed from 47, right? But he hit a 49er, and it was he only has one miss out of 6 kicks, which granted is a pretty high percentage for NFL standards. Missing 1 of 6, but regardless, he hit 42 twice. He 30. It's just like you needed to let him do that. And the play called to Anthony McFarland. When Ben's not practicing all week Ben didn't practice it coming into this game at all, and so that play was not practiced with Anthony McFarland at all. I hate it. It was actually really, you know what I hated about it. Ben actually probably took a little. He snapped that a second earlier. You could have put that ball a little bit better for McFarland and given him a better chance. But I hate the fact that the play is to McFarland in that situation. And the one thing. But, situationally, it was great. They got exactly what they wanted. John Bostic was confused. John Bostic wasn't anywhere near McFarland, and McFarland was left alone by himself on the right side. If you snap that, and about a second earlier, before John Bostic gets over there, that should be an easy completion for a first down. Doesn't even need to run very far. Just literally hit him and go. But, I mean, it's a slugger route. But still, he would have been open, and it wouldn't have been such a contested throw. Just like when it's not practiced with a young guy that's caught 5 catches on the year, it's just an odd play call there when all the weapons you have. And I know that a lot were suffering from drops in that game, but it's just so bad that you can't convert on 3rd and 4th and 1.
And on top of that, the issues there I think are probably the number one thing. The Steelers have no faith in their running game. They're unwilling or unable to run the football right now. It's not one simple thing, but why don't we talk about how you might fix it? You get James Conner and Marquise Pouncey back this upcoming week. That helps. But, what do you do? I have a couple suggestions, but I want to hear if you have thoughts.
You gotta give up and start doing the quarterback sneak. Randy, there can't be hiding it to shield Ben Roethlisberger. But there's no correlation, I should say. He's got to use that. He's got to give it up. He's got because it's costing the Steelers games. You think about it. If they tried it in this game, they did a quarterback sneak twice. They likely would have won this game because the quarterback sneak is effective, especially when you have a big, tall quarterback. So that is one thing. You need to reintroduce the quarterback sneak into this offense on 3rd and 4th and short because you don't believe in your running backs to get the ball. That's my first. Yeah, you want to shoot one?
Well, actually, I was going to piggyback off that real quick. When you're in short yardage offense, there's several different things you can do that work effectively. Number 1 is a quarterback sneak. Number 2 is a run with your running back up the middle or something like that. Or you could do the jet sweep, stuff like that, or you could do play action or some sort of spread pass, which the Steelers have done a lot lately. The Steelers like to do the most complicated thing, or at least earlier this year, they like to do the most complicated thing, which involved misdirection and jet sweeps. But when it comes to the simplest thing, the thing that works the most more often than not, the quarterback sneak, there is just unequivocally no use of it. They ran 3 in 2018, and besides that, I think they've run 1 since 2016. I'm starting to run out of ways to describe it. It's just pretty simple, man. I understand the reasoning for not wanting to do it, but the way this ground game is going, it's an issue.
Yeah, you need to do anything. You need to. I know that they were just undefeated, but now there's no room for error. You need to suck it up and start doing the quarterback sneak where you know it's a high success rate on 3rd and 4th and 1. Like, you got to do it. You can't. Bias so important. And the fact that if you're scared to get your quarterback hurt, why is he playing? It's just that's so playing in your fears is such a stupid concept because you could apply it to the entire game. Like, oh boy, why are we passing 50 times a game? He could get sacked. He could get hit really hard. Well, we might get hurt. Like, I don't understand. Living in the fear entry is so bizarre to me. In the game of football, at least.
What did you think about Mike Tomlin's comments about receivers being benched or pass catchers being benched for people that will catch it? Is that an empty threat?
I believe it. I mean, if you're not playing well, going to get usurped, there's a bunch of hungry guys on the roster, and it's been floated around that maybe Vance should more in this game or be targeted more, and then more James Washington. The problem is, I really want James Washington to learn Deontay Johnson's position. I really do. Because you're not seeing Deontay Johnson come off the field when James Washington, you're seeing Chase Claypool come off the field when James Washington comes on, which Chase has had his problems too in pass catching scene, but it's really been Deontay Johnson. I feel like you have your two main problems in Johnson and Ebron, and we knew this with Ebron. Ebron got thrown out of both his cities, piss poor fans yelling at him that he can't catch. I wasn't expecting Ebron to last this long at all. I was been really solid up until these past 2 games. I mean, he had some drops, but this has been the atrocious that I was waiting for. But back to the point is that I want James Washington Deontay's position so you could keep Chase Claypool on and take Deontay Johnson off, because James Washington isn't prepared for Johnson's position. So you still have Johnson on, but so who are you going to put on? Are we going to put Raven Cloud on for Deontay Johnson? Like, is that the move? That doesn't sound like it's helping anything. That would be helping something is James Washington on the field and Deontay Johnson not, but having Chase and Juju in wide receiver sets. If you're going to stick with that, with his threat, if his threat is true.
I think that's true, and I think you have to start pushing the ball down the field a little more. And I'm not talking about throwing it 30, 40 yards down the field. I'm talking just the intermediate stuff, too. Be able to back that defense off a little bit. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is running a route tree of that of a running back right now. The guy's averaging, lately, 8 yards a catch. That's just not good. I think Juju's at his best further down the field. I'd love to see the Steelers start utilizing him more and just open things up a little bit. I know Ben probably doesn't want to get hit, but, this is the time of year to make plays. You got 4 games left in the regular season. I need to start seeing some more. This offense seems completely one-dimensional right now.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, it's a surprise that the offense is even able to do as much as it can when the Steelers' entire offense, they can't run, so you don't really have to worry about that. They are running, even against not good fronts. Like, if they're running if the Steelers are running a front, opposing defenses has been able to stop it anyway. It's been that bad. So you don't have to worry about that. You know that they're also not going to target deep for the most part. Like, they're relying on DPI when deep downfield, which granted Chase Claypool's gotten a bunch of those, but they're not going to be able to act downfield. So now you're literally restricted to short, intermediate throws since there's no risk of running game. The risk of deep downfield is that if you interfere with the wide receiver, it's going to be moved downfield. You're literally only touch the middle of the field. It's honestly amazing that Ben Roethlisberger has been able to complete as much as he has.
Yeah.
With how defenses should be understanding.
Yeah, and I think that you finally saw the crux of what could happen when a defense focuses in on what's going on. And, the running game isn't working. What are some things you might do to try to inject some life into this ground game?
I mean, I'm hoping that Marquise Pouncey and James Conner coming back is going to inject some life in it. But even before they both got COVID, it was already going downhill. So I mean, I want more of the motion and jet sweep coming back. I don't understand. Like, the things that are really successful, as soon as they fail once, Fiechner's like, nah, throw that away. Like, no, we're done with that. Like, that's awful. Like, I swear, like, Ray McLeod had one bad at sweep, and then they're like, no, we're not. It's not like he fumbled, he just, like, lost yards, and like, we're done with that. Meanwhile, they'll run it up the gut, and when it's ineffective, like, 8 times, they'll run. I will give them credit, they haven't done this in a while. They'll run, I guess I can't say that. They ran a draw on 3rd down in this game, and it made me want to kill myself, just to exaggerate a little bit. They love to run on 3rd and 2nd and long scenarios, and that's awful. They'll continuously do that, but when the jet sweep was working on early on, like, they just forgot about it. I would like to see. You got to do it somehow. And Ray McLeod's fast. I'd allow him to on jet stuff.
I think the one argument you could make for that is that you're trying to keep things simple for the offensive line. I think this is where the problem starts and ends. Well, not ends, but at least starts.
Yeah.
It's kind of cliche to say, but they're not a physical enough unit, not right now. And a lot of these guys are just struggling to get out there in space right now. Another thing I wanted to point out is that the tight ends, especially Eric Ebron, cannot block. I think that your best bet here right now is to spread things out and play the numbers game and try running from there. You got Connor back this week. That'll help. I don't know. There's part of me that says you should not run the ball if it's not working, but when it's this bad and the bar is set this low, I think you might want to consider actually doing the traditional committing to the ground game. And I know you don't want to waste downs doing that, but if it took running the ball without great success in the first half to have a more consistent, better running game for the rest of the season, even if it's against the Bills, I think I might sacrifice that, because I know this offense will not be able to produce if they can't run the ball at all, which they haven't been able to with its most recent the most recent evidence we've seen.
Yeah, we said I will literally just settle for just being able to run on 3rd and 4th, and that's all I want. Like, I just want to be able to get a 1-yard gain on a run. I don't care if it comes from a quarterback sneak. I do not care if you use motion. I do not care if you use jet sweep. I do not care how it comes. It's just, you need to be able to convert on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. You can't leave points on the board. I, at the moment, I'm done going for it on 4th and 1 if I'm the city. I can't. There's no reason to. You got to either punt or kick a field goal, even if it's at the 1-yard line. I don't want to see them run on 4th and 1 anymore, or 3rd. I'm sorry. Yeah, not on 3rd and 1 either. Wow, I'm tired. On 4th and 1. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I think there are things you can do to help, like using more motion, spreading it out. I also heard the idea of Matt Filer being moved from left guard to right tackle, putting Kevin Dodson, probably the best run blocker on the team right now, into left guard, and benching Chooks. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I don't know if Filer would be open to it. It's up to him if he'd want to go to tackle position. I felt like he would be more comfortable staying at guard, honestly, because I think that's what he started as coming into the league, and then goes back at guard. So I don't know. Chucks is really weak. Like, and I say that for an NFL player, he's pretty weak. He doesn't hold a very good point attack, and his angle when he's blocking isn't very good. And I'm kind of referencing a specific play that I saw where he is kind of a little bit upright. He's just not able to get a punch. He got bull rushed and pushed straight down against one of the Washington players in this game, and it's just he's struggling a little bit against stronger competition. He's not holding a good angle, and he's not strong enough to make up for not holding a good angle.
His run blocking grade has not been good this season.
No, he's really struggling.
I don't know. There's a bunch of different things you can do. I think I might consider sacrificing some plays so that they can keep just running it at him. I don't know. There's a lot that needs to be done with the ground game, and as far as the pass game goes, like there are ways for this team to improve on offense, but it's going to require doing the right things, and I'm not sure that right away they're going to do that. Because on the defensive side, with the injuries mounting, that unit is not going to be as great as it was at the start of the year.
No. I mean, and you can't expect it to. You're now down your starting middle linebacker, who's really good, who's your fastest linebacker, who's supposed to be your line-to-line linebacker, the one that can transverse the whole field. Kind of takes away from your flexibility, but Steelers were surviving without. Then you lost your top pass rushers, your fastest pass rusher. You lost two of your fastest players, literally, on defense. You lost two of your fastest players because Bud Dupree had a unique skill set where he wasn't maybe not the best at hand fighting, but his off speed and get to the edge speed was the fastest on him, and you lose that. And the run, he was really well, so now you're losing that. Now you lost your backup linebacker to Devin Bush and Robert Spillane for at least 3 weeks, and now you're starting Avery Williamson and Marcus Allen for the next. The defense is not going to be able to be the same as it was. The whole